All right. So before we get started too much,
Hmm.
I meant to read this to you like last time. So this is not an email. We haven't gotten any more emails. I apologize for that. I know how disappointing that must be, but um, like in the comment section on my videos, right? Like if somebody like I get plenty of people insulting me for various things. It's just like the nature of having a show, and it's
Yeah.
just like at some point it's just like water off a duck's back,
Hmm.
But like if I have somebody else on, like a guest or something, and then somebody insults them, I get
The gloves are
upset
off.
because it's like, well, it's just like that's my friend. Like, you're insulting my friend. But I think it's not the opposite. What is it? It's like the inverse. It's not the converse, it's the inverse. No, maybe it's I don't remember inverse versus converse.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, like, you also get plenty of people saying how great your show is or whatever, and it's just like at some point, it's always nice to hear that, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying at some point it's just like you hear it so often that, but so, same thing. If somebody compliments somebody else, that makes me almost kind of feel better, right? So the whole point of that. So this is a comment on the episode 0 YouTube video,
Oh,
and this guy Joe Leonard says, and there's also a question in here, but I'm going to get to the first part
give me
first.
the good stuff, Joe. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, he says, listen to episode 0, loved it. I could listen to Chris all day, but I have to say that the fact that Coury is here is the icing on the cake. So I want to say, like, in much the same way that, Reggie Jackson was the straw that stirs the drink, you, my friend, are the icing on the cake. So I thought when I read that, I was like, oh man, that's really cool.
Like good, like a buttercream icing, hopefully.
I mean, I think whatever icing, I would say cream cheese. What's the difference between icing and frosting? I don't really know. But like a carrot cake and it has that cream cheese.
Yeah, yeah, like
But that's frosting, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know the difference.
but maybe icing gets like kind of crunchy and hard, like it congeals a little bit.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. That would kind of make sense.
I was kind of hoping the comment would be on episode
Oh
1
boy.
and say,
Well,
listen
we've
to
got some
episode
comments.
0, loved it.
Yeah.
Episode 1, what
Yeah.
happened? It went off a cliff.
Oh. No, no.
Quality,
We
quality.
got a few good comments in episode 1. But okay, so anyway, so he goes on to say can't think of anything better going into the winter months. So that's cool. But then he
Nice.
says here's my question for you. I'm assuming this question is for me based on the question, but you're also free to answer it if you like, although I think I know your answer for sure. He says, are you just as passionate about component stereo equipment as you are for vintage game consoles? And so the only thing I would say about that is like, I would say that I'm as passionate about music as I am about games.
Hmm.
But, like I got my stereo all finished, set up in the living room and whatnot. And, to me, it's just like done, like I have a amplifier slash receiver that I'm happy with. I have a turntable I'm happy with. I have a CD player I'm happy with. I have speakers I'm happy, and so I'm not looking at that like, oh, what can I upgrade or what can I do? Like, I guess I'm passionate about it from the point of view that I'm happy with what I have, and I think I have like nice quality equipment. But
Yeah.
like I think that my gaming hobby as far as hardware goes is I'm always kind of looking for like, oh, what don't I have or what can I buy that will enhance the experience further, like whether it's like a new upscaler or like some cool new controller or some cool old controller
Yeah.
that I didn't already have. So that's my answer. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how big into component stereo equipment you are anyway, but
No, I'm not super into component stereo equipment. Like I basically just follow what you tell me to do. A
oh,
lot of
that's
times.
what's
Well, I mean, a lot of
I try
times,
to give good advice. So
yeah. I mean, you say, oh, you should check this out, or you should get one of these, or you say, I got one of these, and then I immediately start looking on like Marketplace or something like that. Like when
yeah,
you got real into like tapes, like making
yeah,
tapes,
yeah,
I immediately got swept up in that, and then I ended up
yeah.
with 2 tape players, and one of them like is currently in my to get rid of box,
Uh huh.
and I just have one that I'm hanging on to. And then
Yeah,
recently, I was at the at a thrift shop, and I
yeah.
got a CD player that has a mini disc player built into it, and that thing was like $300
You bought it?
for like a year.
Oh,
And
oh,
I
oh.
went in there and, it's like never moved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when are you guys going to lower the price on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I want it, but I ain't paying $300 for it.
No,
And
of course not.
like at a place like that, like, well, it's like a pawn shop. So they always look at what they have
But this
in
isn't
on it.
the
It's not the
this
same
isn't
one. It's
the
the same
okay.
change. Or the same chain, but it's not the same
Yeah.
place.
Okay.
So I said, when are you guys going to lower the price on this? And they look at it in the computer and they say, okay, so here's what we've given somebody for it. And as long as we sell it for more than that, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
So how
they're
much
like,
did you
okay,
get?
so we got like $75 in it. So I'll sell it to you for $85 right now.
Oh, that's a very good deal.
And it has a big stack of like blank mini discs in it. And like, not that like mini discs is not something I've ever been passionate about or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of a cool novelty.
Did you ever have a mini disc player?
No, 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 never.
Okay.
So, I was like, okay, I will do that. I've waited long enough on this thing, so I'll definitely just buy that right now.
Yeah.
And I got it, and I messed around with it for a day, and I barely used it.
I mean, it's just like it's hard, I mean, I didn't want to make this a huge topic of discussion, but since you brought it up,
Hmm?
I had this would have been in like probably like 1996 or something. I bought at Sears from their electronics department. Sony was selling this bundle where you got like a home like mini disc component, just like the standalone uh, mini disc player slash recorder that you would put in with your component stereo, and then it also came with a portable player, like not a recorder but just a player. And
Oh wow,
so I bought that because this was 1996 is really like right before MP3 players, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like I don't remember when I started like downloading MP3s off of Napster, but it wasn't 96, right? That was like a few years later.
yeah,
And
yeah. I'm pretty sure I was out of high school at least, or
yeah,
basically just out of high school.
but so for me, like that mini disc thing was awesome because like the player was pretty. They ended up getting much smaller later, but it was
Hmm.
still pretty small. And so that became my portable music player because it was more compact than a CD player, and of course that you can't. I'm not saying you can't make a mini disc player skip. Maybe if you shake it hard enough, you can. But I'm saying like they don't really skip, right?
Right.
So I was able to make copies of some of my favorite albums and put those on mini disc, and then have like maybe a few mixtapes on mini disc, and just keep that all in my backpack.
Yeah.
And so I just have real fond memories of the mini disc format. But it's like now, like I have a mini disc player I have a really nice one actually, like a home component mini disc player that a coworker of mine gave me, along with a bunch of mini discs. But it's just like, aside from nostalgia, it's hard to like think of a reason to really do anything with it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, because there's no unique sound to it. Doesn't unless you're recording, I guess, from a mixtape. It's nice to have that analog sound transferred over to that. But you could basically
Yeah.
do that with anything, like even just recording the files in your computer if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's cool because like the one I have has like toss link in and out.
Mhm.
Like so theoretically you could go digital. You could record digital straight on to a mini disc without converting it. And then, you could send out the digital signal from the mini disc to like a higher quality DAC or something. But, that's all the kind of stuff that's like these theoretical exercises when
Yeah,
like in practice, I don't hear the difference with any of that stuff, really. So,
yeah, and it's
um,
just nice to have it, just in case like some random situation you might run into where it's like, oh, I need this, or I need to like, I have this disc, I really want to hear it, and you just never know when it might come in handy. I have this
well,
like a mini DV deck that was uh, that I got when I got a PVM. So it was a mini DV
yeah,
deck, like a professional grade. Probably cost like 10 grand at
yeah,
one point.
yeah,
And I have like a small selection of mini DV tapes that I can just like hook up to that and play on the TV if I want to. Like my
yeah.
at the time when I got married, I
Hmm.
had a mini DV camera, and I like people had it like for my wedding, and we're just like
Yeah,
shot all this stuff, and that is like the only reason to have it, is to have it so that I can watch that tape specifically.
yeah. That's cool. Isn't that, I think, Classic Game Room, like back in back in the day. I think that's how they recorded gameplay footage, was onto a mini DV deck,
Oh yeah,
if I remember correctly.
I guess that makes sense. I
Um,
mean, I know that AVGN did something similar, but like recorded onto DVDs or something like that.
he did DVD because I only know that because that's what I did when I started, and I explained my process to somebody, and they said, "Oh, that's what AVGN does." I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh,
okay.
that's
There,
cool, I
there's
guess."
there's definitely something about that style. We've talked about this recently about how it's an idea of like
Well, don't say the idea.
I'm
We're
not
supposed to
going to,
be
but just like that
okay.
that analog like low quality video is just not something you see anymore.
Yeah,
Like on YouTube because everybody's using like good stuff.
yeah. It's like this huge arms race to have your capture footage and well, not just your capture footage really, but everything just look better and better and better.
Hmm. Exactly, and
But then
there's
like
some
I
there's something nice about like that. You know that
yeah,
crappy looking video.
well, it's just more authentic looking. But
Yeah.
I just kind of I noticed. I think I mentioned this to you already when we were talking about it that like Jeremy Parrish did one of his like NES Works
Mhm.
videos, and all of it the sort of talking headshots or whatever he applied like some kind of like VCR distortion effect to it to
Right.
try to kind of like go back to giving it more of that analog look. Sorry, before we get too far away from the topic, I just wanted to mention going back to the mini disc thing real quick. Only because I don't remember how many episodes ago it was. You mentioned that you were getting into like vaporwave or whatever, and oftentimes a lot of these vaporwave artists will release albums on mini disc. So that might be something
Oh,
cool,
really?
like because then you could support an artist and you could
Yeah.
get like a pre-recorded mini disc, and it would be kind of cool. So
Yeah. I mean,
um,
I'm immediately going to look for something like that after
should
we're
yeah,
done with this recording
you should.
this.
After we're done recording episode 6 of Here's My Question for You. Um, so I didn't check. Well, hold on. I want to show you this first. So,
Okay.
I don't want to be like super annoying about all this stuff, but I've been trying to shift into living a little bit more of like an analog lifestyle, if you want to call it that.
Hmm.
And so, I was keeping all of our questions on my phone, on the Notes app.
Yeah.
But you may or may not know this about me that I have kind of a thing for stationery. I think people that watch my show know I've mentioned a few times that I got a real thing for just like pencils and pens and paper products and whatnot. And so I had, so I'll buy these notebooks and then not really use them. Like, oh, that looks cool, and I'll buy it, and then it's just like it's thrown in the drawer. And so I had this really nice, it's like one of these reporter style
Hmm.
little notepads, where like it flips up from the bottom, and you could stick it in your
Oh,
pocket.
I like that it flips up.
Yeah. And so like I've got my notes or whatever for this episode on here, and I'm going to start trying to like I keep this in my messenger bag now, so I always have it on
Oh,
me
that's good.
so that when I think of a new question I can just write it down in here. And so I have some notes in here for things that I was bringing to the table today, and then obviously if you have things to talk about today, then that's also awesome. But I forgot what's the date today. It's like the 13th or 14th or something
It's the
like that.
15th.
Oh my God. All right.
It's the Ease 8 on the PS5 date.
Well, that's just extremely exciting. But so am I correct that Thanksgiving is next week?
Yeah, it's next Thursday.
Okay, so and this episode we're recording right now is going to come out on Monday, and so this is going to kind of end up being our Thanksgiving episode, I think. But we'll get to that in a minute. But so if you don't mind, do you mind if I start running through some of my items here?
Yeah, let's see some of your or let's hear some of your items.
Yeah. So I mean, the first thing I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, because I don't want to I feel like we're beating a dead horse because this is like the third episode in a row that I'm bringing this up. But I just wanted to say that since the last time I finished High Fidelity, the book High Fidelity, and
Okay.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I want to say that I think some of the issues I had with the movie, like the book, you had mentioned how closely the plot, the movie plot follows the book plot, but I think there's some important sort of differences that
Hmm.
make the book a worthy read for anybody that likes the movie. But I don't really want to go into that and spoil it for anybody that's maybe thinking about reading the book. But
Okay.
I'd say that like just the way the movie ends, it's like after everything that happens, they just like get back together like it was nothing, and then like everybody's celebrating, and then the movie ends, and it's like that's not really quite how the book is. Like they still end up together, I'm saying, but in a way that I think makes a lot more sense. Like it's a lot more realistic, I would say, in the book than the movie. So
Yeah.
after I finished High Fidelity, I was like kind of looking around my house, like, okay, I need a book to read.
Hmm.
And like I mentioned, pretty much any book that I have in my house, like chances are it's in my house because I haven't read it yet, and I intend to read it, like because I
Right.
don't really hang on to too many books. But so I had this Stephen King book, and I don't have like a problem with Stephen King. I don't think I've read enough Stephen King to really even have an opinion, about the guy, his writing anyway. I think he's an awesome, based on like how many of his stories get turned into movies. You got to say he's probably a pretty awesome storyteller. But I'm saying I haven't read a lot of his books,
Hmm.
but in fact, I think this is the only book of his that I have. But it's this book called I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called Different Seasons, and
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar.
it's like it's a pretty thick book because it's a collection of four novellas.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Novellas, yeah.
Yeah.
And three of the novellas in this book have been turned into movies,
Oh, really?
and two of them are like two of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, man.
So
Okay, so
so
now
I
I'm really curious
originally
what they're going to be with it.
and I remember I bought the book. My wife and I were on like a little mini vacation up in Portland, and Portland has like one of the greatest bookstores I think on planet Earth in Powell's Books. And I bought it there because it still has the price tag on the back. And I'm thinking that I know the reason I bought the book was to read one of the novellas. So I'm thinking I must have just watched the Shawshank Redemption for like the 127th time.
Hmm.
And I think that finally got me to where like I want to read the book, right? And so
Yeah,
that's why I bought Different Seasons, was to read the novella on which
I
Shawshank
see.
Redemption
So
was
that's one of them then.
based.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And then like another one of them is I haven't seen this movie, is Apt Pupil.
Oh, that's the one with what's his face? Gandalf. I can't think of his name. Ian McKellen, and he's
If you
like,
say so. I've never
it's
seen Apt
it's
Pupil,
like
so I
I
don't.
think there's directed by Bryan Singer, I think, and it's like he's like
If you say so, I have
he's
no
like the
idea.
teacher is like a secret Nazi, right?
I don't know. I didn't read that one.
So
Like
I just
I bought it to read the two. Well, I'm not going to read it. You're fine. Like I read the two
oh, okay.
novellas that I wanted to read, but the other one, I mean, this is one of my all-time favorite movies going back to my childhood, and so I just kind of want to talk about that. The other novella that I was interested in is The Body, on which Stand By Me was
Yes,
based.
yes, great movie that I've
And
not seen in a very very long time.
I have to say, I mean, considering it's one of my favorite movies, it actually has been a very long time since I watched it. But I was just going to bring that up, like, if what you feel about, if that like for me, I feel like that was in some sort of silly ways, sort of an important movie in my childhood, just based on like who was in it and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't see it until I was a bit older. So I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, I can't really comment on that one specifically, but it's a very good movie. When finally got around to seeing it, I felt like I wish I had seen it earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I only got to see it because, we had a VCR at home, and so my dad, like we rented lots of movies when I was a kid, because we didn't
Hmm?
really go to the movies very often
Did you
because that was kind of
rent movies
expensive.
from did your grocery store have movie rentals ever?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's like such a
Uh,
weird thing to think
and
about.
and NES games. We used to rent
Yeah.
movies and NES games from the grocery store. But I mean, we rented from different places. Like my dad really liked going to Tower Records. Like there
Mm.
was our local Tower Records also had a video rental section, so he used to rent movies there. But yeah, I mean, there was a. It's kind of funny because near my house, when we moved in with my grandma, in the same shopping center, there was a dedicated video store, but there was a grocery store as sort of like the anchor store of that shopping center, and they also rented videos.
Nice.
Yeah,
This is all very
but
good because this kind of goes into my question eventually. This is good.
okay, which I definitely want to get to.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it was kind of interesting. Like, I don't know why it took me so long to read the book, because I know when I bought it, it was like I'm going to read. Like I knew when I bought it, I'm going to read The Body, and I'm going to read Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, and then I'm done. Like I
Mhm.
have no interest in reading the other two. I don't even know why I'm saying that, but it was just like just didn't want to read the other two. Like I think I read like the Précis or whatever, like the very condensed down plot outline, and neither one of those sounded interesting to me. But I thought that the body was interesting. So first of all, one of the reasons I brought it up is just because, based on our conversation last time and you talking about how, you're pretty into listening to audiobooks.
Hmm.
I just think, actually, I would say that about both of those novellas. I just feel like those would be really cool to listen to as audiobooks.
How long
So,
did they take you to read?
I mean, they're like 100, little over 100
That's
pages
awesome.
a
So
piece.
like,
They're pretty short.
yeah,
I don't know how long it would take someone to read 100 pages out loud, but I can't imagine it being that long. But especially like the body is told. I think both of those stories are told from a first person perspective. So which
hmm,
is the same way that the movie is, right? Like Shawshank Redemption is really, it's told from the perspective of Red, Morgan Freeman's character, and it's the same way in the book. Like it's Red telling the whole
yeah,
story. So, and then for the body, just like Stand by Me, it's Gordy is adult Gordy is like the narrator of the movie, and
hmm,
it's adult Gordy, writing the story of the body. So,
yeah,
but one of the other things I thought was cool. I don't think anything I'm going to say is really spoiling it. But people always talk about like there's the trope of like oh well the book was much better.
yeah.
Like Jim Gaffigan's got his comedy routine about like the book was much better, and like well what I like about the movie, no reading. Um, but you get a lot of book snobs that always have to be like, well, I read the book and it was much better. And like I was saying last time, like for me, I like reading the book. If it's a movie I like and it's based on a book, if you go read the book, it's just like you're just kind of getting more information. Like you probably get more
Right.
backstory. And it's not a matter of one being better than the other. But I will say that I think that in the case of Stand By Me, I think the movie is a little bit better. Like the book is good. I
Hmm.
was very entertained by it, but I think the movie's actually better than the book. Even though
Interesting.
there's like little subtle changes. In fact, I mean, I think I can talk. None of this is spoilers because like the plot is all the exact same.
Yeah, the movie came
But
out like what, like 82 or something like that?
no,
84?
it's like 86.
Oh.
Um,
Oh.
but like for instance, like I said, like the book is told from Gordy's perspective, right? And so like you don't have like in the movie you have the scenes showing like Ace and his gang like doing their thing because you're trying to show how these two groups of kids end up coming together at the end of the movie.
Hmm.
But of course, the book is being told from Gordy's perspective, and so he can't talk about like what Ace and them were doing.
Right, right.
And so it's like they talk about them a little bit, and then you just sort of have it all come to a head at the end. But you don't really get as much of the backstory with like Ace and his gang. But I would say that the main like there's little stuff in the book where it's like one character said something instead of another character, and like it's kind of not that big of a deal. But I think the main thing that's different that makes the movie better is the whole point of the story, right, is Gordy wants to go see this dead body because that dead body is like a surrogate for his dead older brother, right? Like
Right.
he's going to see this body as a way of getting closure
Hmm.
because he lost his older brother, right? Speaking of which, well, I'll get to that later, but I don't want to forget to talk about that. But there's that scene where they're still in town, like they're meeting up to walk, to start their long walk out, and Will Wheaton's character Gordy and River Phoenix's character Chris, they're walking down the sidewalk, and Ace and Eyeball come out of a bar, and Ace steals Gordy's Yankees cap, right?
Hmm.
And and Gordy's yelling like, hey, that's my brother gave that to me, his dead brother, like my brother gave that to me, give it back. And Ace just turns and hands it to Eyeball and just says, well, now it's mine or whatever. And so that never happened in the book. And the other thing that didn't have, these two things tie together, is that at the end when they have kind of the big showdown, right, when the two gangs end up like running into each other, if you remember, Chris brought that gun with him. Like he stole his dad's gun
Yeah.
and like had it in his backpack or whatever. And then at the end of the movie, when they're all yelling at each other, Gordy's the one that pulls the gun out and fires the shot into the air
Hmm.
and, says some things to Ace that I'm not going to repeat on the show. Although it's funny because the lines are taken directly out of the book, which is great because they're like awesome. Why don't you go home and do something to your mother some more and that kind of stuff. And, you call, do something, you cheap dime store hood. They're just really good lines and they came straight out of the book. But in the movie, it's Gordy that has the gun, right? Because Gordy he's defending the Ray Brower's dead body because it's his, that body is the surrogate of his brother,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
he's going through this like psychological process, and so like to me,
Like a grief.
it's
Like,
like Ace stole the Yankees cap, and in doing so he stole a piece of Gordy's brother, right?
yes.
And then it was interesting because I was reading something about the movie. Rob Reiner directed the movie, and at the end of the movie when they're having this showdown, like none of the gang are wearing that Yankees cap, right? It's just gone. And there's like sort of the stereotype about actors. Like if you see like a stereotypical actor being portrayed, and they're like, what do they always ask? Like they ask the director, like, well, what's my motivation? But it's like
Yeah.
that really is something that an actor is trying to get into the head of the character. So that's why he's at like what's going on, like so that I know what headspace to be in. And apparently, like Kiefer Sutherland had asked Rob Reiner, like, where's the Yankees cap? Why am I not wearing the Yankees cap in this scene? And Rob Reiner told him, he's like, oh, because Ace, as soon as they turned the corner, Ace threw it in the garbage can. Because the entire point of him taking the cap, he didn't want the cap. The
It
whole
was just
point of it was
like the act
the
of taking it.
cruelty was,
Yeah.
yeah, the cruelty was the point.
Yes.
Um,
But you
but
don't
anyway,
see
I
that
just,
though. Do you see
well,
that?
right.
Right.
No, but what you do see, because I think the way it's written in the script, Ace, Kiefer Sutherland's character, is supposed to take the hat and put it on. And Rob Reiner said, don't put the hat on. Just take the hat away from him and dangle it over his head and then just turn around and hand it to Eyeball. Because the point is, you don't even want the cap. The whole point was just to take it.
I see.
So, and I'm saying that you see in the movie.
Well, you got me. Like I need to rewatch this movie for one thing.
You should, yeah. But I'm saying also, like I said, the book, things happen. So in the book, it's Chris that has the gun at the
Okay.
end. And so you don't really get the whole thing. I think the movie does a better job of conveying Gordy's motivations for why he wants to go see this dead body than I think the book does a poor job with that.
Interesting. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
it's
but so the other, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's fine. I like this is all very educational to me because like I barely remember any of this, so it's good.
Well, you should, I mean, it's like I said, it's one of my absolute favorite movies. So,
Mhm.
um, oh, but so the other thing I was just going to say, I think one of the reasons, like, that for me, that movie was the first time I saw so many actors. Like I don't believe I'd ever seen, like Will Wheaton had never been in anything noteworthy before.
Right. That was
Stand by Me.
pre Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Well, that's what I was going to say
Like
about
that was like
that
the first time I remember ever hearing about him. But he was
was,
doing a lot of stuff before that, I guess, or some
yeah,
stuff at
yeah.
least.
But that was one of the things I was going to say. I just thought was funny. Like, there's sort of like this running joke on the internet, like the whole "shut up, Wesley" thing,
Hmm.
right? Because people, like a lot of people, I guess, hate the character of Wesley on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And like, I just think it's funny because like, I was never really in that much into Star Trek when I was a kid. Like my mom was really into watching like the original series,
Hmm.
but like I wouldn't really watch it with her because I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like I like the movies. Like I remember I saw like Search for Spock and The Voyage Home in the movie theater. Like I thought the
Yeah.
movies were cool. But like when The Next Generation came out, I didn't care. Like I didn't even pay attention to it. But like the what kind of one of the things that drew me to it was that LeVar Burton was in it because I
Hmm.
used to love reading Rainbow when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and that Will Wheaton was in it because I loved Stand By Me so much. It's like, oh, the guy from Stand By Me is in this. Well, then maybe I should check it out. And so the fact that you have these people who are like, don't, I don't know. I just think that's weird. But like that was the first time I ever saw Kiefer Sutherland in anything. And then I don't know if you remember, but kind of going back to High Fidelity, John Cusack has a very small role in Stand By Me, and that was the first time I'd seen him
Oh, I see. I don't
in
remember
in
that at all.
anything. He was Gordy's brother. Like they had like a little flashback
Hmm.
where Gordy's thinking about his brother, and it's John Cusack, but it's like literally just one scene,
Interesting.
which is
I
interesting
got it.
because by that time I think John Cusack was like enough of a name that
Right.
like for him to do a small role, like he must have just thought like this is a really cool little role, and so like he didn't like need to do that, for the sake of his career, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what John Cusack's big breakout role was. Was it Better Off Dead, which I feel I've only seen once. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Is it? I don't ever feel like Better Off. Like I think Better Off Dead is like a great movie, but to me, it's sort of like a cult classic kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like, I don't think it was really a popular enough movie that you could say that,
Yeah. So would
that
you
was
say that it was might have been say anything?
maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that was more popular than,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
But he
yeah.
probably got say anything because of Better Off Dead.
I don't. Yeah, maybe
Maybe.
that would make sense. But I mean, anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say about that, except just say I just really I enjoyed reading that, and it made me want to go watch the movie again. But then it just made me think. The two things were just to talk to you about your memories of Stand By Me, but also just to sort of recommend that I think that would be really really cool to listen to
Yeah.
as an audiobook.
I like the idea that this podcast can just have like, here's some recommendations throughout that
Yeah.
people should check
Yes.
out. I will see if my the Overdrive app has that available, and I will
Yeah.
immediately sign it out because that sounds
There's
good. I mean,
another.
it's like, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, no. I was just gonna say there's another collection of Stephen King novellas that I know The Running Man came out of that one. I don't
Hmm.
remember what else was in the other collection, but
I love
I don't know
I
how many
love the
people
Running
out
Man
there.
movie. I've
Oh, me too. But I don't know how many people out there know that that was a Stephen King story. Because
yeah,
still to this day, I'm surprised I can still tell people that Shawshank Redemption was a Stephen King
that's
story, and they don't believe it.
crazy to me.
Like,
Like
well, to me, the only thing about that is like, it makes me wish that Stephen King wrote more because I really have no interest in reading like a horror novel,
yeah.
but like, I would definitely be interested in like hearing, or reading rather, more of his non-horror
Hmm.
stuff. So,
So, what are your thoughts on the other? If you like Shawshank, what do you think about Frank Darabont's other uh, two movies in his Stephen King adaptation trilogy, which is The Green Mile and The Mist?
I mean, I haven't seen The Mist, but I mean, The Green Mile is an awesome movie. Kind of for me, I think kind of hard to watch, but you know,
Yes,
but yeah, I mean, it's a great movie.
The
But
Mist
I'm not.
is good, but it's definitely more of like a straight up horror movie, and it has it's kind of a downer.
Mhm.
I guess they both are. I mean, Green Mile is a downer too. So, but not Shawshank. Shawshank is definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it looks like my Panasonic tethering app crashed. So hopefully you're getting the
yeah, I'm seeing
video.
it. I
We'll
see
just
ya.
All right. We're just gonna go with that.
We'll just go with it.
Um. Anyway, and then the last thing I wanted to say about this is the last thing that's book related.
Hmm.
Is I told you last time that I got that Carrie Elways. You're saying it's Elways, so I'm gonna roll with that.
Yeah, I mean that's how I've always
Um,
said it. And
I got that that book about Princess Bride.
yeah.
So I want your opinion on this. So I haven't read it yet,
Hmm.
but I also haven't seen Princess Bride in quite some time. So I'm curious, should I watch the movie again first and then read the book? Or do you think it'd be cooler to read the book and sort of hear or read all that sort of inside baseball of the movie and then go read the movie? Or I mean, go watch the movie rather.
I think you should watch
Because
the
you can make
movie.
a case. I feel like you can make a case both ways.
Yes, but I think that by watching the movie first, it gives you a greater sense of the context of
Hmm.
the stories that he's sharing. And Princess Bride is such an easy watch. It is like
Oh,
such
for
it,
sure.
it just moves so quick, and like every moment of that movie is enjoyable. I watched it actually with my kids, I think last year for the first time, and they
Hmm.
adored it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Like that's one of those things I miss about not miss because I never had kids, but I feel like I'm missing out on not having kids.
is like
Is
showing them like some of this like good stuff.
Yeah, like just being able to share stuff with them.
Yeah, and one thing I've learned
Um,
about doing that though is you can't tell them, "Hey, we're gonna watch this,"
uh-huh.
because at least my kids immediately push back against that. Like, oh, I don't want to watch an old movie.
Oh.
You
So
know,
how do you present it
well,
then?
we just started like putting stuff on,
Hmm.
and if the movie if it makes sense for them, they'll immediately just get sucked in anyways. Like I did that with Labyrinth,
Hmm.
and had no context, just put it on, and
Did
they
they
loved it.
they enjoy that one?
Yeah,
It's a little bit of a creepy movie. I mean, I remember I watched that like right when it came out on like
yeah.
home video. But
Well, that and the Dark Crystal. Did you ever see the
see,
Dark Crystal?
I haven't seen Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal is much is much creepier, I think,
Yeah.
than. But they were both from around the same time, and I think that like I don't know the history. We should have asked Dustin about it because he just did a whole video on the Labyrinth Famicom game a while back, and about how it was like a big flop, and it
Mhm.
just like made Jim Henson like not want to make any movies anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's very good. I did not see that movie in the theater, but I remember renting it. Yeah, it's a very very young Jennifer Connelly, like, which is interesting. I mean, because you look at it now, and she's
Wait, Jennifer Connelly was in Dark Crystal,
no,
or are you talking
she's
about?
in Labyrinth.
I know she's in Labyrinth. I was
Yeah.
like, was she in both? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, and it's just like she's I think 14 or 15 or something like that in that movie.
Uh huh. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if she was actually 14 or 15 in real life,
Yeah.
but it's
I think that's the only movie I've ever seen her in, actually.
no way, really.
I think. Like, I don't. The only other two movies I can think of that she was in, like, I'm saying that I can personally think of, is there was that Beautiful Mind movie, which I haven't seen. And then
Right.
there was that movie. I don't even remember the name of the movie, and I can't remember the name of the male actor. I think it's Frank something. But I just remember that that Flock of Seagulls song, Space Age Love Song, was in the movie. Because if you go watch the video, the official music video for Space Age Love Song, which, by the way, is, in my opinion, Flock of Seagulls' best song, not Iran, although that's also an awesome song. The like, I don't, you remember like back in the 80s, and I guess into the 90s as well, like, if a movie was on or if a song rather was on a movie soundtrack, then oftentimes the music video was like clips from the movie,
Yes.
maybe like
Yeah.
cut in with like clips of the musicians playing.
Mhm.
And so that's the way it was with Space Age. In fact, Space Age Love Song music video is nothing but clips from the movie. There's nothing of the band. But anyway, I'm saying whatever that movie is, and I can't remember what what the name is. Like that and A Beautiful Mind are the only other things I know, of Jennifer Connelly's work.
Interesting. Well, she's in the new Top Gun movie. If you ever
See, I wanted to go see that in the theater, and then it got like,
it was in the theater for a long time. It was in the theater
Was it?
much.
Well-
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it left the last theater that it was in last week.
but it was supposed to be in the theater like the previous summer, maybe even 2 summers previous.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It was like
it's
maybe the
like-
summer of 2020.
Yep.
Because I remember I went and saw a movie like right before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the previews was that, and I
Yes.
didn't know. Like that was how I learned that movie was coming out, and I was like super excited about it.
Yeah, it's
And then
it is
I don't know
real
what
good.
happened.
You should.
I ended up not seeing it. So, and now I don't have a TV anymore. So if I want to watch it, I have to watch it on a tiny screen. So that really sucks.
Yeah, and especially since that movie it's made to be watched on a big
It
screen,
came out.
really.
I think it was in IMAX too. I wanted to go
Yep.
see it in IMAX, but then like I have to go pretty far to see.
You should see
a
if
movie in
it's.
IMAX.
I mean, you have any dollar theaters? I bet it would be in a dollar theater at this
No,
point.
we don't have dollar theaters here. This is California.
Well, I mean, they
Anything
don't.
they can do to juice you for more money.
They don't really do that anywhere. Like, well, at least most places
Oh, really?
anymore.
When I was growing up, we had stuff like that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, the last
I
time
saw
I remember.
Field of Dreams at a dollar theater. What do you think about that?
That's. I mean, I did not see that movie in the theater, so that's.
If you charge $1 for it,
They will. Yes, and you did.
Yeah, I did.
You and many other people. I think the last movie I went to see at a dollar theater is probably The Matrix, which I'd already seen many times.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I because back then, like the late 90s, if a movie did really good, it would be in the
Yeah.
theaters for so long.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure that I saw The Matrix at the dollar theater like a year after it came out. It was
Yeah.
it was darn close to being a year.
It's funny because The Matrix is an example of like one of those movies that I didn't want to see
Mm-hmm.
because people wouldn't like shut up about it.
Yeah.
And I have like, I mean, to me, it's like, I would consider it a personality flaw, right? Because like you're doing something to your own detriment. Like if people won't shut up about how awesome something is, I'm just like, well, no, I don't want to see it. I guess
Yeah.
just to
So
be
have you
like
still
in
not seen
control.
it?
No, 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 I have, but it was just like people kept at work like, oh my God, you haven't seen The Matrix? But like that was kind of like secretly like I wanted to see The Matrix, and so
Yeah.
like I used to live close enough like I could walk to a movie theater.
Yeah.
And so like I walked over there like, one day and just watched it by myself. Like while it was still like this wasn't like what you're talking about where it was like way later, it was
Hmm.
still like, there was still all the Matrix buzz going around. I went and saw it. I was like, oh man, that was so awesome. Because I had no idea. It was one of those movies where I really didn't understand what it was about.
Yeah. You were like immediately. You're like, oh, I guess people were right about this.
But I knew they would be. It was more
Yeah.
just like it was getting to the point like where people were being like it just really, when you tell someone like I haven't seen, kind of going back, it kind of goes back to like Dustin's question from a couple episodes ago, right? But it's
Hmm.
like when somebody finds out I haven't seen some movie or watched some TV series or played some video game or listened to some album, and they start talking to you like you just ran over their dog, like, oh my God, you haven't. It's like, well, now I'm extra not going to watch it. Like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like I should just start telling people like I was kind of planning on watching that in the next few months, but now because of what you just said to me, I'm going to wait 3 years. I'm putting it in my phone. Don't watch this until at least 2025.
So you can helps you let go of those expectations, and or
Yeah.
like being annoyed that you actually went and watched it based on their like freaking out about it, and then what if it's not as good as they said? It's like, oh, I can't trust
Yeah.
this person anymore about anything.
Right.
You ever you ever go to like drive-ins and stuff growing up?
I think I only ever went to the drive-in once. I
What'd you see?
think,
Do you remember what you saw?
of course. I'm just trying to think before I answer. I'm just trying to think if I ever gone to the drive-in again. I don't think my wife and I have ever gone to the
Is there
drive-in.
one near you?
That's the thing. It's not, there's one in Sacramento,
Hmm.
but like I live like, 20 minutes west of Sacramento, right? And like this drive-in is like on the eastern side of Sacramento. So it's probably like a 45-minute drive at least
Hmm.
just to get there,
Yes, yeah, that's no fun,
And
and
I don't know,
especially like at
somehow
night.
that's enough that I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do that,
You ever feel like do you have a hard time driving at night? Like I feel like as I'm getting older, it's more and more difficult for me to drive at night, and
I
I
feel like
sound like such an old man saying that, but
well, I mean, I don't know why, like, I don't know what you're, like the reason you have a hard time driving at night. Like for me, like I have really, really bad night vision.
yeah, same here. And
Like
but just
my
like the
wife and I will
glare and
be in the
stuff, like even in your glasses and stuff, it just makes it so
Well, I
difficult.
mean, I have like my glasses have like the anti-glare coating or whatever, but I'm
Hmm.
saying like for me, like we could be driving and like to me the road is just like pitch black. And but my wife will be like, "No, I can see like, like I can see the stripes and the little reflectors, but I'm saying like I think for me like my eyes don't have good like my ISO of my eyeballs is like too low, right? Cuz things to me that are just black, she can still see stuff. And so I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, well then you should probably drive at night because I'm just going to get us killed.
you didn't eat enough carrots growing up.
Think that must be it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's even like a real thing or if it's just
I know.
somebody.
I thought I read somewhere that that was not true.
I mean, it does not surprise me that it's not true. But for people
'Cause
that are listening to this that don't know, like growing up, I mean, I guess if you are familiar with this, then it must be something that parents told all their kids. Maybe it was like on TV or something at some point,
I think so.
where like if
Well,
you
no,
eat carrots, you can see better in the dark. And I still say
I
it to my kids.
I can't remember why, but I actually one time read, like I saw it somewhere on the internet. It was like the reason that that whole thing got started. Like there's actually a story behind why, you know, this whole narrative started of like you need to eat more carrots to improve your eyesight. But I just don't remember what it is now because this was like a
See,
long
I didn't
time ago.
realize it was just
But
like eyesight in general. I thought it was just like seeing in the dark.
I mean, eyesight was what I heard. I don't. It was sort of non-specific. It
Yeah.
sounds like maybe you had more of you got more Never mind. I can't say the word.
It's-
Specificity is what I'm
it's-
trying to say. It's like for me, it's a little early in the morning still. So specificity. But sorry. So to go back and answer your question, so which is funny because I was reading about this morning, just coincidentally. The movies that I saw in the movie theater. It was my dad, my stepmom, my sister, and I all went to see Adam's Family,
oh,
like with Raul Julia and
yeah,
Angelica
yeah.
Houston and Christina Ricci.
That was the
And
last movie that I saw, and at the drive-in 2 years ago,
Oh, well,
actually.
it's the only movie I ever saw, but I mean, this was like when it was out. So like 91 or something, I think. I think it was in
Yeah.
91. And I don't know how is this like a universal thing that drive-in movies are always double features? Like to me, that's like a universal thing, but
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
I'm
I'm
wrong.
pretty sure that it is because you know movies will start, I think, before it starts, like before it gets real dark. So
Yeah.
they'll always have two movies, so that you stay there late. People will,
Yeah.
for it, like to take your kids, and they'll almost always fall asleep
Yeah.
before the second movie is over.
Yeah. Well, so okay, so anyway, so we went just to go see like the intention was like we're just gonna go watch Adam's Family.
Hmm.
But the other movie, the other part of the double feature was Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered Country, which
Oh.
I had already seen because I went and saw it like the day it came out. Like,
Hmm.
remember I just said like I lived like walking distance from a movie theater
Yeah.
when I was in like junior high and high school, and they happened to have Star Trek Six, and so like the day it came out, and it was like a small movie theater, so it wasn't, and I lived in a city that had quite a few movie theaters, so it's like it was the day it came out, but it's not like I showed up and there was like a line around the building kind of thing. Like I was able
Right.
to just walk up and the theater was pretty full, but so I was able to just walk over there and watch it. And I just thought like, wow, that was like a really, a little fan servicey, but a very cool movie. And so when we went and saw the Addams Family, I kind of convinced my mom and my stepdad that we should stick around and watch Star Trek Six just because I wanted to see it again. So
Star Trek Six is a good one. I saw that one in the theater too.
yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good.
I think I saw 4, 5, and 6. I didn't see 1, 2, or 3 in the theater, but 4 I saw it at a theater that was like a single movie theater, and
Like single screen, you're
a
saying?
single screen, yeah, but it was a huge
Yeah.
like auditorium. And I was so sick that about halfway through the movie, I just like left the movie and like lay down on the bench in the lobby
Like
and like
I don't like
slept.
sick, like you were getting a cold or the flu, or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you were
the
getting
flu,
like okay,
the flu, yeah, for sure.
that sucks.
And I saw 5 in the theater, but and I to this day I think that's the only time I've seen that movie. Which
I don't know.
people say
People,
that it's real, it's so bad, but I feel like it's probably not nearly as bad as people have made it out to be at this point.
I've never understood that the whole narrative people have about like, oh, it's like the even numbered movies are the good ones and the odd
Yeah.
numbered movies. I don't get that at all. Like I think to me, like I liked the first movie, and a lot of
Mhm.
people thought that it wasn't good or they didn't like it. Like I thought that was a really interesting plot, and I thought it was a cool movie. I mean, to me, like, I like all six. Let me just say that.
Yeah, yeah, same here.
I like all of them, but to me, the worst one is Star Trek Four. Like I
J-
loved it as a kid, but it's like that. It is so horribly fan servicey, and
mhm.
and the plot, the whole concept behind the plot. You know what's funny? So I watched some of those movies. I forgot. I made my like I didn't make her, but like I don't think my wife was like super keen on the idea. But like I have like I think I have like the first five Star Trek movies on like Blu-ray because I
Mhm.
got them at like a discount store for like
Yeah.
$3 a piece or something. And so we watched like I think it was the first three, like not back to back, but just over the course of a few weeks or whatever. We watched the first three, and at the end of the third movie, I was so like not mad, but just annoyed at how the plot worked out. I never uploaded it, but I recorded a video of me like just not ranting, but just explaining here is what they should have done
At the end of 4.
with the no, like even at the end of three, like the whole plot,
Okay.
and I just how the whole plot I thought was just dumb, and how they could have made a few simple. I don't remember all of it now, in case you're going to ask, but like I laid it all out in the video of like just you should have done this instead of doing that, and blah blah
Mhm.
blah, and everything would have made like way more sense.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're all
like
like 2,
I
3, and
think that
4
the
are like that like a trilogy, right? They're all
yeah
kind of
they run together, like yeah, they're like the movie version of like a musical suite. Like you have to
yeah.
really watch all three of those back to back because it's a continuing storyline. But like I thought the plot for five was actually quite interesting. So I really don't understand people who think that it's not good. I mean, it's just like, to me, five is like a standalone movie the way the first one is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
you can watch five. You don't need to have watched two, three, and four to watch five. And
Right.
you could say the same thing about six, right? Five and six are both just like you watch a movie and it's good and you're done. But like, especially like if you watch Star Trek 3 by itself and you hadn't
It's like,
seen
what
like
is even going
2 in a
on?
long
Yeah.
time, yeah, you're like, I don't understand what's going on here at all.
Yeah. I should revisit 5 though, because I feel like I never thought it was bad. And like that's the thing. You say you like all 6 of them, and I think that I'm the same way. Like I don't think like, oh, the odd ones are bad and the even ones are good. It's like they're all pretty good, and just some are better than others.
Right. But I'm saying if I turn on the TV, it's kind of like what we were saying a few episodes ago about like we were saying how you could watch the first 3 Star Wars movies just like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, because to me, it's like, and I had mentioned when you said that I can't remember which cable network it is, but like somebody shows like episodes 1 through 6, like all in a row every once in a while, right? It's like TNT or one of those stations.
Yeah.
And if I turn on the TV and like one of those movies, I mean, maybe not the prequel trilogy, that depends on what kind of mood I'm in, but like if I turn on the TV and any of like the original 3 movies is on, that's like, what Rich Eisen calls like a remote drop movie. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm watching this.
Yeah.
But I would say the same thing about probably any of the Star Trek movies,
Yeah.
1 through 6, maybe not the later ones, but
Like even if you're not
so
sitting
yeah, I
there
mean,
intently watching, it's like I'm going to put this on and I'm just going to leave it here, and maybe I'll do something else, and I'll just like kind of come in and out of the room.
yeah, yeah,
There's something very comforting about it, and like there's very few movies that I feel like fall into that category, especially like movies that are releasing now, that
yeah,
I would do that same thing with.
yeah. So anyway, you had said I have like one more thing on my list, but that's kind of like that was supposed to be kind of like the big question or whatever. But I kind of actually I feel like we've been talking about stuff that I wanted to talk about for
No,
like the
it's
last.
it's fine. It is fine.
So if you had something, if you wanted to,
Yeah, if I wanted to jump in with a question. Well, so this is
yeah,
something. It kind of plays into. So last night I sent you this image, or a posting to like these stickers that were for sale, and
yeah,
they're all these like old electronic store stickers, which are kind of cool. Like there was like a electronics boutique, there was a Circuit
yeah,
City,
yep,
and
CompUSA,
CompUSA, and the Good Guys, which is like you said, is that that's like I don't recognize that logo, but we never had one of those around me.
I think so. My understanding, because I used to go to the Good Guys all the time, my understanding is that the Good Guys was West Coast only.
Okay, then that
But
makes
Good
sense.
Guys was like they sold, like Circuit City sold like all kinds of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like pretty much anything that had electronics in it, Circuit City sold it. Good Guys was more like home audio, home video, car audio, and then like they sold video games.
Okay.
Like the first, I think I told the story on my show one time, but like the first place I ever saw or played an Atari Jaguar was at they had a demo kiosk, and I got to play whatever the pack-in game is for the Jaguar. It just flew out of my head, but
Was it Trevor McFur? Was that the pack-in game?
no, 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 no. It was the one. It was like the third-person flying game.
Cybermorph?
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
realize that was. I mean,
That was the pack-in game.
oh
So that was
wow.
what they had running in the kiosk. But anyway, that is what that's what the Good Guys rather was. And so when I saw that, that's just not the logo of theirs I'm familiar with. So I saw that and I was like, I don't know what that is. But the other stickers were very cool.
Well, so I guess this question kind of banks on that idea, and maybe I'm opening up a can of worms now that we're like even 55 minutes into this recording.
Well, whatever.
But it is what it is.
No rules, right?
So my question for you is like, what are some other stores that no longer exist that
Yeah.
you still think about, or that you have like some pretty fond memories of? I mean,
I think
it's a general question, so we can just roll with it.
there's just so many. I mean, like I feel like all the stores that I really liked going to when I was a kid are all gone.
Yeah.
Especially because like where I lived in a weird place because I lived in a pretty big city, but it was kind of at least for California, I would say it was geographically isolated, right? Like you can go to plenty of places in like the Midwest or whatever and say like, well, that city, like there's no other city near it for like hours, right? But like for that to be the case in California, I think it's a little bit more unique. So like growing up, even though I lived in a pretty big city, like we didn't have like big box stores. Like we didn't have a Best Buy until like I was
Right.
in college, or We didn't have Target until like a little bit later. Like I
Hmm.
remember when we got like a Walmart, it was like, oh my God, we have a Walmart
Yep,
now.
that's how it was
And
with me
so
too.
like,
Yeah.
for me, a lot of, the places I went, like I would go to the mall and go to like the smaller stores that were there. But so, I mean, to answer your question, like the ones that pop into my head immediately are I still miss Radio Shack terribly.
Hmm.
Like I still think all the time of something that I need where if Radio Shack was still around, I could just go get it.
Yeah.
Like the other day, like one of my pieces of equipment at work blew a fuse, and like I happen to have like another like parts version, like I have like a piece of equipment that's like broken
Hmm.
that I keep around because I can pull parts out of it to fix the one that's still in service. And it's like I was able to take a fuse out of that and replace it, but it's like I was really thinking like I don't even know where to go get a fuse now. Like, would the hardware store sell like that kind of fuse? Like, it's not.
Maybe.
If it was an automotive fuse, then of course there's plenty of places to get that. But like the kind of fuse that would have gone in like an old, stereo receiver or something that Radio Shack had tons of.
Hmm.
I don't know where to get something like that, anymore. But I also, especially around like the holidays, like at least to me, the holiday season is like basically Halloween through New Year's, right? Like for me anyway.
Yes.
Like that's
Yeah.
the best time of the year. But anyway, I always miss Radio Shack a little bit more during the holidays because like they used to have like just they would bring in all these toys like electronic toys and whatnot that they only had during the Christmas season, right? The rest of the like you could walk into a Radio Shack anytime and get like a remote control car, right? But if you went in there in like November or December, there was like 10 times more selection, and then they would have all the little like handheld
Like race
games
cars
like
and stuff, or like the remote controlled cars and stuff too. They
yeah,
have.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They would have like that, but then they had like, Radio Shack was really good at like ripping off like other things. Like they had their own version of like the Nintendo Game and Watch games. They had stuff that was like similar to that.
Not like Tiger Woods,
Or
but like something else completely.
well, no, just like Radio Shack branded, you
Oh
know.
wow.
But I mean, I'm saying it wouldn't be like Mario or something. I'm saying it was like very similar style games, but they were just like Radio Shack versions or
Yeah.
whatever. And I mean, I could go on and on. They had tons of that kind of stuff, but like, so I always miss it around the holidays because I used to always love like my two favorite stores when I was a kid were Toys R Us and Radio Shack.
Hmm.
And I mean, I used to ride my bike to Toys R Us like all the time. I would
Oh,
if I
you're
went
lucky
anytime
you
I
had
went to
them that
the
close.
it was close enough I could ride my bike. So like on a given weekend, if I was bored or something, I would hit my grandma up to like give me some like work. I'm like, hey, what
Yeah.
can I do to like earn $5 or $10? And she'd be like, oh well, go sweep the garage and go clean. Like she'd be like, oh, clean every window in the house inside and out, and I'll give you $10, or whatever. Which,
Yeah.
in the early '90s, I mean, $10 was no joke.
Oh, for
Like you
sure.
could take $10 to Toys R Us and you were definitely coming home with something cool, right?
Yeah.
So, so like I would do that, or my grandma would often. She really liked going to the mall, like to go clothes shopping or something. Like my grandma was really into like clothes.
Hmm.
And so like on a Saturday, if I was home and I wasn't doing anything and my mom worked on Saturdays, like if my grandma was going to go to the mall, she would always come. If I was home, she would come. If I was in my room or wherever, and she'd just say, "Hey, I'm going to the mall. You want to go?"
Right.
And of course I want to go. Why would I not want to go to the mall, right? And so like, and we would get to the mall, and it's so fun. Like my grandma was one of these people. Like she really didn't want to spoil like anybody. Like she didn't want to spoil her kids or spoil her grandkids, right? And so that's why, like I was saying, I could never ask my grandma for $10. She'd be like, "No, I'm not giving you $10, right?" But if I said, "Do you have some way for me to earn $10?" Sure, she'd find something for me to do. And so like it's funny because like we would go to the mall and we would be in the parking lot still, and she always did this exact same thing, like a routine. She would like sigh. She'd, "Do you have any money?" And I would tell her, I'm like, no, but it's okay. Like, you don't need to give me any money. Like, like, cause I would feel bad, cause like it's my fault I don't have any money. Like I spent my allowance or whatever. Like I was just going just to go, right? Like I can sit at home and be bored and watch TV or play Nintendo,
Hmm.
or I can go to the mall. I'd rather go to the mall.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
But like, my grandma's whole thing is like, she didn't want me walking around the mall without any money. Right. And so like, but she made it sound like she did this, I think, because she didn't want me to ever get comfortable with the idea of just getting free money from her. I think that's kind of where her motivation was there. So she'd be like, You have any money? And I'd be like, no, but it's okay. And she's like, well, and she would just give me like $10 just so that like, well, I just don't
Yeah.
want you to have any money. So here's $10. But she would do it in a way where it's like she was making it seem like she was being put upon so that I would never get to the point where I thought of my grandma's purse as like an ATM machine, you know?
Yeah.
But, but anyway, so she'd give me the money and like the four stores I would always hit. I'd always go to Radio Shack. I'd always go to KB Toys. That's another example of a
Hmm.
store I really miss. And, you know, I think generally the most malls that I went to as a kid, wherever it was, like they would have a Walden Books and a B. Dalton. And so I would always go to both.
B. Dalton. I'm not familiar with that. Is
It's
it
like
just like
if,
Walden Books?
yeah, it's like the exact same. It
Hmm.
was just like there was two competing like mall bookstores.
Interesting. See, we
Yeah.
only had Walden Books in any of the malls like around, at least that I knew
Well,
of.
you definitely weren't missing anything. Like
Yeah.
it's if you had one, you were covered. You didn't need to have like both.
So I take it are you a big fan of like just malls in general? I mean,
Well,
would you,
not anymore, but
but yeah, I mean, growing up though, I mean, do you feel as though a lot of major memories were like made in the mall? Like, do you like? I'm a big fan of like that late '80s, early '90s like
yeah.
mall culture, like the feel and
Yeah.
like of looking. Because I
Yes.
used to just go there and
Definitely.
I love it when my mom would just like let me go and hang out at some place while she
Yeah.
does some shopping, and I would go to like electronics boutique and go to the arcade and go to Walden Books, like looking for
Yeah.
game magazines. Go stop in at the at Camelot Music or the Wall, you know.
Hmm.
Like I'm that is a time that I feel like I think back very fondly on, and it makes me really sad, like the state of malls now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And it's just like what I said, you know. I mean, we would sometimes I would go to the mall like with my, you know, my dad and that family or whatever. I'd go with my usually if I went with my grandma, you know, we would go through the routine, the do you have any money routine. And the reason for that was that we would get to the mall and split up, right? Like she would just say, "Okay, meet me." Like, you know, if we got there at like 1 in the afternoon, she'd be like, "Okay, meet me at like 2:30 in the food court," right?
Right.
And so then we would go do like whatever. She'd go look at clothes. I'd go to the stores I already mentioned, and then we would meet at the food court and maybe like have something to eat, you know,
Hmm.
together, and
Sabaro's
then go
Pizza.
home. No, so it's kind of weird. Like the food court at the mall that we went, like the mall that we used to go to, like the building is still there, but it's not really even a mall anymore.
Yeah.
But the food court at that mall
Is it just like all
was
unique
like
places? Like,
they were all like little locally owned,
hmm,
like they weren't chains. It was just like somebody opened like a little Chinese food stand
yeah.
in the food court and somebody else had like a Mexican food stand.
The Chinese food stand always have somebody out front handing out little samples on a toothpick?
No, no.
Oh,
Although
really? I
I've
feel
seen that, you know, subsequently. Like if I go to the mall now, there's somebody doing that.
oh, I mean, I
But
feel like
those
there's
but now
no
those are all like corporate chains.
yeah. Well, I mean, back in the day, it was like for me, there's always like these places handing out like teriyaki chicken. It's like
Yeah. Well, it's
Manchu
just
Walk was the name of
yeah.
the one that I've
It's
heard
just
of.
smart, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, even like when I was a
It's like
kid, like
loaded
my
with
grand
MSG so that you like
oh, of
want to go
course.
and
That's the good stuff.
get a whole plate of it.
You know, but when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, like every year, my grandparents would take me to the mall to get my picture with Santa. Which that's one of the biggest. Just going back to the holidays again, like I really miss the way those malls were done up for Christmas. You know,
Hmm.
with just like ridiculous amounts of Christmas decorations, and you know, playing Christmas music. Like I don't. I get where people are coming from when they talk about how much they hate Christmas music. Like
Hmm.
I appreciate your point of view. I just that's not mine. Like
Yeah.
I love Christmas music. In fact,
Okay.
I have a thing where like I it's like a self-imposed rule that I do not listen to Christmas music until Thanksgiving is over. Like the one thing I will say that annoys me, but Christmas music is just being used in that situation, is like if I go to Target like right now, they're already playing Christmas
Oh yeah.
music. And I was like telling my wife, it's like you're ruining it because like first of all, well, so here's my so the reason that they do it, right? I was telling my wife this, like if you go to Target, like there's certain square footage in Target, like in a certain spot in my Target, right? Where that's like the rotating stuff,
Yeah.
right? So like I was telling her, you know, at the end of the summer or in the middle of the summer, really, that turns into the back to school section,
Hmm.
right? And then after back to school is over, that turns into the Halloween section. And then once Halloween is over, there's nothing else to put there but the Christmas stuff, right? There's not, you
Yeah.
don't have like Thanksgiving stuff at Target, right? And so, because people get all mad about, oh, there's stuff in the stores earlier and earlier, but it's like, yeah, but it's because they have
They have this whole
space
section
in the store.
they gotta
This is the seasonal stuff. And so, well, we're putting Christmas stuff out on like November 1st or whatever. So I get why they're doing it, but it's just like at the same time, I'm already hearing like jingle bells or whatever, like over the PA system. And it's
Mhm.
like not even Thanksgiving yet. And I think that annoys me because like I love Thanksgiving. And so it's like, can we let Thanksgiving be a thing
Yeah.
instead of already mentally being in the Christmas season? Like to me, it's the holiday season, but like I like all of the holidays. And so like stop horning in, because if you're
Well, they're just
Target,
trying
like
to
you're
get you to
not,
spend money. Like they're
well,
like,
right. And the thing is like, what is there to spend? Like you spend money at the grocery store for Thanksgiving, right? So you're not really spending as much money at a Target. So they're trying to get you to already start buying,
well, it's the
Christmas
same
stuff.
thing with like Black Friday. Like it's not like Black Friday is not even a thing anymore. It's like for
Yeah.
the entire month of November.
Yeah, it's already Black Friday. Like I already see all
Exactly. Like I've gotten
the
so many
deals.
so many emails saying like Friday starts today.
Right.
It's
Right.
not even a day anymore. It's like it's 2
Well, we
months.
don't. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have it where you live. Like here we have Small Business Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, we do.
So
Yeah,
we always go do stuff for that.
that's nice. That's
Go to like a
nice.
record store or a bookstore or whatever. But
Hmm. So KB Toys was a big one for you. Like I liked KB Toys a
I
lot
used
too.
to, because I just felt like you could always. I mean, it's funny because I feel like full price KB Toys and Toys R Us both were not a good deal. Like they would charge you over retail for
Yes.
stuff, right?
Yes.
But KB Toys always had that white wire. It was like a wire rack bin or something, like at the front of the store where they would put stuff on like super deep discount. And, as a kid that was walking around the mall with like not more than $10 in my pocket, I could always go look in that bin and say, oh, what you got in here? And like I would find like weird, like I remember one time I bought like this weird Nintendo controller. It was
Hmm.
like that Quick Shot brand that made like nothing good ever, I don't think. Like I bought one of theirs just because it was like $5, right? And I was like, oh, what's this? That looks neat, and I bought it just for the sake of buying, because I had money burning a hole in my pocket,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, well, I'm buying that, I guess, and taking it home. But like I remember, like the best thing I ever pulled out of one of those bins was I got Mega Man 6 for 4.99,
Oh man, those are the
and
days.
I
Like
had never. I had never owned a Mega Man game. I used to play Mega Man games over at my friend Jonathan's house, but like I never had a Mega Man game. And so like when I saw that, it was just like immediate sold.
and
And
you
so
think
like
like,
I've got
oh,
a
it's the
soft
newest
spot
one,
for.
and it's the newest one, so it's got to be the best one.
Yeah, but I didn't even care because like to me it was like now I can play like unlimited Mega Man,
Yeah. Ah, KB
But
Toys.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean I
yeah,
can talk. I mean, or Sears. Like I miss the heyday of Sears. Like
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if Sears is around anymore at all. Like we don't have our Sears is around here anymore. Although I will say I don't know if you know what Round One is.
Round one.
So it's like it's this chain of arcades,
Okay. Yeah.
but I think they're from Japan because like if you go into a like I went into a Round One like 10 years ago down in Los Angeles, and they literally have like candy cabs in there, and they'll have like Japanese arcade games that didn't come out here. And I was like, whoa, this place is awesome. And we just got up here in the Sacramento area one of the Searses that was connected to a mall like closed because like I said they all closed around here, but it got turned into a Round One. I was like,
Oh
that's
wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I do like Sears. Like when I was a kid, like I used to do like a lot of my shopping would come out of the Sears catalog. Like my
Mhm.
mom bought my shoes out of the Sears catalog, or like if my birthday was coming up, she would just hand me the Sears catalog and just be like, pick a toy.
Yeah.
And
That's
but we used to
that's incredible.
go, yeah, and that was just like a regular place. If we went to the mall, we would always go into Sears. And it's funny, nobody remembers this that I've talked to, but at the Sears, I'm talking about, this would have been like definitely in the 80s, like when I was in like elementary school. If you went to my local Sears, like just sprinkled around the store were a few like snack stands. Like if you were walking down like the main aisle, like the main thoroughfare in Sears, at like some intersections or whatever, would be like this freestanding like snack stand. and they would have like fresh popped popcorn
Oh yeah. So
and
at Sears you
soda
had this.
at Sears. And then they would
Wow.
have like C's style candy, right? Where you bought like a piece of candy, right? Like old candy shop style,
Yeah.
like a
Like
a
saltwater
chocolate.
taffy or something like that.
Yeah, or like, nuts and caramel covered in chocolate, but it was
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
in one of those little brown paper,
Hmm.
like Reese's peanut butter cup style little wrapper
Yeah. Well,
things,
we have actually a couple of places like that, like around here. They're like candy shops and they sell like individual pieces like that. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I mean, I can do that here. I can just walk into See's
Did they
Candy. You
have
know what I'm
did
saying?
they
Like,
have hot dogs on the rollers or no?
I don't remember. I can't say for sure. I remember we used to always get the popcorn, but
Hmm.
when I tell you this is literally the saltiest popcorn I've ever like, I'm not even trying to be funny. Like you'd eat the popcorn, it
It
was so
burns.
much salt. No, your lips would start to crack. It was that salty, and it came in one of those like back when popcorn came in like a cardboard box, you know, with flaps on the top, so you could like eat some of the popcorn and then
Yeah.
like kind of like a cereal box,
Yeah, yeah.
and you could like fold the flaps down and like save the rest of the popcorn for later.
Lips would crack.
Yeah.
I mentioned the hot dogs because we had a store. I guess it was like a department store called
Yeah.
Hills, and
I think I've seen like ads maybe when I was doing like research for the show, but that sounds familiar, Hills.
they used to. I mean, they had like frozen Cokes and stuff, and you could get like the hot dogs on the rollers. And I
Wait,
remember,
what do you mean frozen Coke?
so frozen Coke is like it's almost like a slushy, but it's like made out of like Coca Cola.
So, but are you saying that's like because I can go get like a
You
Coca-Cola
know
flavored
right
icy? Are you
now
saying it's like that?
it's like a Coca Cola ice cream.
No, icy. Do you guys
Oh
have
yeah,
ices where you
exactly
are?
like that. It's exactly
Okay.
like that, but it comes out of a
Okay.
machine. Like right now, I think it's like McDonald's. You can go and get a frozen Coke. Like they have a thing where you can
Okay.
either get frozen Coke or like these frozen Fantas,
Yeah.
which are
Ooh,
like
Fanta.
they have like the blue raspberry or the cherry, and they taste exactly like Airheads candy. If you ever had that,
I've had it. Yeah.
but you'd get the frozen Cokes, and they had like the popcorn, and they'd have the hot dogs on the rollers.
Yeah.
I miss that place.
I mean, just in general, I just feel like there's not too many cool places to go shopping anymore, and like, I don't know, maybe that's,
Yeah, it's
I would
true.
say maybe that's a good thing, but it's not a good thing because it's not like it's done anything to curb consumerism in our culture. It's just now we just buy everything online. And I'm guilty of the exact same thing. But I think it's a lot more fun, a lot cooler to go to a store versus like just buying stuff online. But I get really frustrated a lot of times now because there's things that I want to buy where I want to go try it out first. Like this
Yeah,
just happened with I think I already talked about it in the last episode, but the headphones thing, like I wanted to buy a nice pair of headphones, but
yeah.
there's nowhere around here to go that like a physical location where I can go demo some headphones and decide what I want. So like I had to buy
It's just
some
trial and
headphones
error.
off of Amazon and then like, okay, I don't like these. And now I'm returning them and now they're not new anymore, right? I feel like a scumbag
It's just
doing
like
that. Like I
creating
don't
all
want to
kinds of waste, and then also like to transfer the
that
stuff
too.
back and forth. It's just like creating all these like emissions into the atmosphere. And
I mean, I don't know. It's that too, but to me more it's just like I don't want to feel like I'm being some kind of scumbag that buys things and returns them, right? But it's like I
right,
have no other way to decide if I got these. I did a bunch of research and I bought these headphones and I felt good about it, and I got them and I put them on, listened to some music, and I absolutely hated them, like immediately. Like, nope, these are not, because different people like different headphones or voice different ways, and
hmm
some people like the way a certain kind sounds, and so I sent those back and I bought a different pair that I'm happy with. And so like now I'm happy, but I'm saying like, if there was a store I could have gone to, where I could have just taken, my phone or whatever with me so I could have plugged it into some different headphones, I could have just gotten what I wanted or whatever, or what I would have been happy with, the first time. But,
right.
I'm sure if you live in like San Francisco or Chicago or New York, there's places you can go, right? Like hi-fi stores, but we don't
Yeah, but
have
I'm
that
not
around
sure.
here.
Like,
So
what are they even called? I mean, is like there's a Guitar Center. Like, would they have something like they probably wouldn't have. They have some like headphones and
yeah.
speakers and stuff like that.
I think they would not have
Was it
had
like
probably
Sam
the kind of
Ash
stuff I
used
was
to have stuff
looking
like
for.
that, or Sam
Maybe.
Goody? It was Sam Goody and Sam Ash the same place. I don't know.
No,
Too many
I don't think
Sams.
so. No. I feel like Sam Ash sold musical instruments, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Goody was like they sold like music. Like you go to Sam Goody to buy like CDs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember when CDs would
Oh,
come in those like plastic, those giant like long plastic anti-theft things?
well, do you remember before that they came in those big cardboard boxes?
Yeah, yeah. I remember getting
Yeah.
Extremes album 3
Yeah.
with the top 10 hit Stop the World on it.
Yeah.
And that was the last CD I got. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, it may have been Soul Asylum's Grave Dancers Union. It was the last CD in a box that I got like that.
Yeah. I don't remember getting too many CDs in box. I used to buy a lot of used CDs. So,
Oh, you're
oh,
smart.
I was gonna say another store I just thought of. I don't know if you guys had them there. Suncoast,
Yeah, then they would charge you like full retail of every movie, right?
but it was cool to go in there and browse. Like I don't think I bought that much stuff there, but they had like a lot of cool stuff in there. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that there's still one in existence
Yeah.
now, but maybe not.
Yeah.
You know, there was not one close to me, but there was one like in Buffalo, like
Yeah.
in the Walden Galleria that I think that I went to before I lived in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And
All right.
anyway,
What? Okay.
but Suncoast is good, but super expensive.
Yes. That was a great question, though. Thank you.
Yeah, heck
Like
yeah.
any excuse to take a trip down
And
memory lane, like,
I
I'm all
think that
about
this
it.
is
So.
probably something we'll probably come back to.
Oh,
It's
sure.
always
Yeah.
fun to talk about these, you know, these places that don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So possibly tangentially related to that.
Okay.
Well, not really. It's just more of a walk down memory lane, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
because we're at like the hour and 15-minute mark now, so we should probably
Wrap it
start
up.
winding things down. But as I said at the beginning of the show, this is the Thanksgiving episode for this year.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just going to say it right off the top, I'm not going to answer this question, so don't ask. Because like I feel like I already kind of talked about Thanksgiving stuff on my show. So this is like, I just want to hear from you. So,
Okay.
well, it's a two-part question. I'm just going to ask you the first part first. So,
Okay.
when somebody says Thanksgiving to you, or when you think of Thanksgiving, like what pops into your head? Like what memory or whatever? Like,
Going to my grandpa's house, and
yeah, what was that like?
it was very nice until like my grandmother died, and then my grandfather got remarried, and then it really became all about like his new family, I guess. But you know, it's just always, you know what it is. There's something about it that is it just like the memories and like my feeling of it is just like really warm. Like I just remember it just like the, you know, the living room feeling like really warm.
Yeah,
Is that like a weird, probably
No,
a
not
weird
at
thing to
No,
say, but it's
not at
like,
all.
you know, my memories of Thanksgiving is just like warmth.
yeah. No, don't laugh. That's cool. Because I mean, I agree. It's like I feel like my memories of like spending time with family for Thanksgiving, like those are probably my best, like of any holiday, right? Like I mean, I love Christmas and everything around Christmas, but just like as far as like single day experience, like at a family get-togethers or whatever, like it's not even close. Like Thanksgiving takes the cake,
Yeah. Because
takes the pie, really. I mean, it's more of a pie day.
I mean, you know, it's just it's nice being able to like have all this food and everything and do whatever. But you know, like for me, it's just like, you know, seeing people you don't see that often, and like
Yeah.
even maybe like cousins that are you know, same age as you, but you just don't see them very much.
Yep.
And that's always nice. And it's just like it's just warm. It's just warm and you know, like being on the couch under a blanket. You know?
Yeah. All right. So second part of the question then.
Okay.
What is this is a food question though, and I know you're not, you know, super into food or whatever based on previous conversations we had, but I mean, it is Thanksgiving after all.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
what your ideal, like let's just say you're going to have one plate of food for Thanksgiving. right? You're not going to
Okay.
go back for seconds, which I know it sounds crazy because it's Thanksgiving, but I'm trying to say just to limit yourself. You're going to take one normal
Yeah.
dinner plate and you can load it up with whatever, right? For
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving, like what's going on that plate?
All right. So let me just write it down here because I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, he's got a pencil and paper out, so things have gotten very
Yeah.
serious, which I appreciate.
um, so obviously, turkey is going on there,
Yeah,
and
yeah. White meat, dark meat, or both?
white meat,
Okay.
preferably. I used to say when I was a kid, like, oh, I like dark meat more, but
Hmm.
as I've gotten older, I just like it's just like a little too slimy. I just like,
Slimy.
yeah, like dark meat is
Okay.
like it's like too moist. I like the dryness of white meat
Oh,
now.
okay. Hmm.
I want to say green bean casserole.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Definitely a huge dollop of mashed potatoes with some
Hmm.
gravy on it. And like I'm the kind of person that, especially like on Thanksgiving, I like to mix a lot of things together.
Sure.
There's definitely people that are just like, I can only eat one thing at a
Hmm.
time. I can't mix it. They can't touch. Like I know some
Yeah.
people are like they can't touch. But I like to just, like especially with mashed potatoes and turkey, you can just kind of.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But even the green bean casserole, like if you get a little cross contamination going on between like mashed potatoes and gravy and green bean casserole, like that's pretty delicious, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff is I've been exposed to a lot more
Hmm.
since getting married, and like with my wife's family. My wife's family like definitely has like a big Thanksgiving. Like they have people over and they all like make cookies together, and it's like
Hmm.
it's pretty elaborate. So I thought of something and I lost it. How about this? How about some deviled eggs?
All right, that's an interesting one. Just because I personally don't associate the two. But is that like is deviled eggs something that like when you went over to your grandfather's house or whatever, like was deviled eggs generally like on offer, or is that
Yes, for
something when
sure.
you?
They were
Okay,
always on offer, but my wife's sister like makes them every year too. So like that's
yeah,
definitely a carryover, and I love them. I eat way too many of them.
yeah. No, same here. Like I love deviled eggs. I just never
Yeah,
associated it with like I'll eat deviled eggs just anytime.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, really, it's just egg salad in like a more easily,
Yeah, yeah.
consumable by it. You don't need like the bread as the vehicle. It's just hand me a deviled egg, and you just like you now when you eat a deviled egg, is that one bite or two?
Oh, that's definitely one bite.
Okay,
I have a
good. I'm
real
glad you said
problem of
that.
just like one biting a lot of things that probably should be two bites.
I just feel like the problem is like if you take a bite out of a deviled egg, like then
It's
now
gonna
you
make a
got the
mess.
filling you got to maybe worry about. Like, is it going to come flopping out of there? Like, all right, so you're done. That's it.
I
That's
mean,
your.
are we talking like so? This is only dinner. So is it like are we considering?
We're going to get to that. Calm
Okay,
down.
okay, yeah. I
Okay, this
mean
is just this
that's
is
like
just dinner.
the main things that I can think of off the top
Yeah.
of my head.
So not you're not like stuffing is like take it or
No, I
leave
mean
it kind of
stuffing is
thing.
good,
Or
but like a lot of times that's something that I will like I'll mix that in if I can. Like
yeah,
that will go along with the mashed potatoes. I like to like mix
yeah,
that
yeah. But I'm saying like if you
mix
didn't
that
have
shit
stuffing,
together. It's very good.
that's not like a huge issue for you.
Right. If it's
Like
not there, it's like
okay, got it.
it's not a huge loss.
Like candied yams or a kind of
I mean that's good, but it's not like a huge priority.
same thing. Got it.
And do you
Okay.
run into this problem like when it comes to like Thanksgiving and stuff? Like there's all this food. I feel like when I have way too much food to choose from,
Yeah.
and the same thing happens if I go to a buffet or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I get full so much easier, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like if it was like any other day, I could just keep on eating.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I get
kind
I
of.
get full off of one plate, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't do
Well,
it.
usually so like for the past quite a few years now, like my wife and I don't really get together with anybody for Thanksgiving. We just have it just the two of us.
Hmm.
And I do most of the cooking. And so I feel like just over the course of cooking, like I'm having to try this and taste that and do whatever. And like sometimes by the time I sit down to eat, I'm just kind of like not full, but not really. starving anymore, or whatever. So like,
Yeah.
so yeah, often I can't eat that much. Although we just had, what day is today? Today's Monday? No, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. Okay. Just this last Sunday, we had a very Thanksgiving style meal, although you wouldn't like it because it was turkey thighs. So it was dark meat,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I'm not saying that I don't like dark meat. It's
definitely
just like
not
if I have a
slimy. I'll tell
choice.
you that. No, I get it. I like both. Like to me, it's like, given my choice, like, but the problem is because it's just the two of us. Like I'm not buying a turkey. Like we're never going to finish a turkey, right? So I buy
Yeah.
like turkey parts. But so like what we had on Sunday, I bought two like whole turkey thighs, right? So the bone was still in there and had the skin and everything. Because then you can roast two turkey thighs and they're going to cook. If they're about the same size, they'll be done at the same time. But
Hmm.
in the past, I've been like, well, I want to have some white meat and some dark meat. And so I'll get like a turkey breast and a turkey thigh, but one's bigger than the other, and so then you run into the problem of like, well, one's going to be done and the other one's not done. But it was really good though. I mean, I brined the thighs and then let them dry overnight, and the skin was super. I don't know how you are with skin, but because some people don't
I like it.
really
I like it
care for eating skin.
if it's crispy. I
Yeah, it
like
was
it.
crispy.
Yeah,
It was
I'm
really
all
really
about
good.
that.
And then we had mashed potatoes and gravy, and then we had Brussels sprouts, but just to have
Brussels
something
sprouts are
green. But
totally good. I mean,
yeah,
they're great. I mean, like as a kid, I would never even like
same here, but we
bother
were
eating.
actually my wife and I were just talking about that.
Yeah, they're good
When
when you
we
like
were
roast them
kids,
in the oven and they
that's
get
what we
kind of
did.
like
We roasted them.
a little bit
But when we
charred.
were kids, Brussels sprouts were bitter,
Oh, and
and
they
they've bred Brussels sprouts to ditch the bitterness, and so now it's just like eating a little tiny head of cabbage, which
yeah,
is awesome because I love cabbage.
yeah. But if you put them in the oven and you kind of get them so they're
That's
like
what we do. Yeah,
like they're kind of charred like the tips of
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
like it's so good.
Little crispy on the outside.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
I'm
very
all
good.
about
Yeah.
that.
So no, so sorry. Just before we wrap up your plate here,
Hmm.
just quick question about the gravy, right? Because you're gonna have gravy, right,
Hmm.
on your plate.
Yeah, of course.
Does the gravy go over? Like, are you taking that ladle of gravy and like hitting the mashed potatoes and putting it over the turkey? Because you mentioned you like the turkey a little dry. So do you want to be
But I do
drenching
want
your
to put some
turkey?
gravy on that. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put
Okay.
gravy over everything that's warm on the plate.
Yeah. Like to me, one of the most satisfying things to do. I don't know why this is such a stupid thing, but like, I get my plate and I put that big, pile of mashed potatoes on there,
You like
and then
this?
I love getting the ladle,
Hmm.
putting it in the gravy, and then lowering the ladle into the mashed
Yeah,
potato pile to make a crater,
yeah,
and
like a
then so you
volcano.
get like yes, I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's
Very satisfying.
yeah.
Okay, so now dinner's over and you're gonna have dessert. So this is
Yeah.
a much easier question, I guess. Like, what are you can only have one thing for dessert, right? You can't mix and match or whatever. So if you can only have, you're gonna have one little plate with a piece or a slice or whatever of one thing. What's it gonna be?
I mean, it's probably gonna be pumpkin pie because as long as I can just like really load on the whipped cream. I was joking the other day that I like to have pumpkin pie with my whipped cream because I
Right.
just I
Yeah.
love whipped cream like Cool Whip.
Yeah.
There's like a few months ago there was a point where I was like not eating ice cream when everyone else in the family was eating ice cream. I was like
Yeah.
freezing a thing of Cool Whip, and I would
Oh,
just
how's
like
that?
I mean it's pretty good. Just like then you just
Well, I
like
used to like when I was a kid, we used to always have a tub of Cool Whip in the fridge.
but you
And
put it
like
in the
I used
freezer
to
and it's kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, but
it's
that's why I'm asking is I used to just eat the Cool Whip.
yeah.
When no one was looking, I would get a spoon and go like eat some Cool Whip out of the tub and it never so I'm curious, like it seems like that would be pretty good
It
if you
is
froze it. Yeah.
totally good.
Yeah. What
I
about ice cream? Like instead of
it's such a
I'm
weird.
just curious if you had a slice of pumpkin pie and like a scoop of vanilla ice cream next to it, or is that
Oh,
just kind of like
totally,
yeah.
totally.
Okay.
It's so
Okay.
weird because for the longest time, I did not really care for vanilla ice cream. But as I'm getting older, I feel like vanilla ice cream might be my favorite. Like outside of like cookies and cream, which is my favorite ice cream, but like just
Yeah.
vanilla by itself is so much more appealing than it was.
It goes well with things
Yeah, and
also.
it just
But I
like
think it's good by itself too, but it's like if you're gonna make something and have ice cream with it,
yeah.
no, I feel like 9 times out of 10 you're going to use vanilla because
Hmm.
you're not trying to overpower, right? Because like if you had like a piece of pumpkin pie and then like a scoop of like chocolate ice cream with it, that
It's not
that
good.
doesn't sound appealing at all.
And just even,
Well, to some people it probably does, but
like I like chocolate, but it's just
yeah,
I think I might be kind of, and I will eat chocolate if it's in front of me. Like my kids' Halloween candy, like it's like in these
yeah.
things. I'm always like, I'll grab a
But
kit.
overall, you're not into chocolate. Period. You're saying,
Well, I mean, I used to be so into chocolate, and I will eat chocolate if
yeah,
it's like there.
yeah,
But I very rarely go out of my way to like get chocolate, like like a Hershey's bar. No
yeah.
thanks. Like
But that's bad
that will
chocolate.
be like
That's
on.
very bad chocolate.
Yeah,
Do you guys have
there,
C's candy where you are or no?
C's
C's?
candy. No,
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm gonna take care of that.
there's a weird thing with chocolate in
Yeah,
general, and I don't know if it's like I don't think it's like an allergy or anything like that, but it really makes me just kind of like makes like around my mouth feel kind of like irritated. And then maybe it is allergy, like a weird
that sounds
allergy.
like you have like a mild allergy to me.
And it just makes my like around my mouth. It just and this is not because I'm like smearing it all over my face or anything like that.
No,
I'm
yeah.
not a pig or anything, but
I was not envisioning that.
it makes my like skin like around my mouth like feel like sticky.
Yeah, yeah. That
And I'm
sounds
not
like a
just
mild
like
allergy. I think.
and I you know what if it is like
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Like I
yeah,
would like to say like well I know that if I am going to be like doing a lot of stuff, like I'm not going to have any chocolate.
yeah,
Like if I'm going to be
yeah,
talking to people, because I just don't want to. Like I need to go and like wash. I feel like I need to wash my face after it.
yeah. That's pretty unfortunate, but yeah. All right. Well, on that note, this has been episode 6 of Here's My Question for You, the official Thanksgiving episode. I only say that because it's just like people can believe it or not, but like the Halloween episode, like that was really not intentional. Like that just
It was
because when we
luck.
recorded it, like nobody else realized that like, oh, this will end up getting uploaded on Halloween because it literally got released like on
Yeah, that
Halloween.
was super lucky, and we had the right
That was
person
a
for it.
happy coincidence. Yeah. So, but I specifically had this question in there because it's this is going to be Thanksgiving week when people hear it. So
And it's fun to have themes, and I'm sure that we'll
yeah, we'll have a
continue to
Christmas
revisit
episode
those
too.
themes.
Yeah, we should have a New Year's episode too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. So everyone should email us questions so that we
Yeah,
don't.
we haven't gotten any more emails. I checked
Yeah,
right before we started recording. So, but yeah, that's here's my podcast at gmail.com. And
you can follow
we
us on
got
Twitter if Twitter still exists when you're hearing this.
right, right. Twitter and Instagram both are at here's my podcast. And if you go on the Twitter there's like a link tree link that has like all of our like links on it. Because I can't remember the name of the service, but since we last recorded, I've added the podcast based on a listener request, which was what I was saying last time. If our podcast is not
Mhm.
on your platform of choice, just let me know. Like it's very easy to add it to another one. So I think it's like Player FM or something like that I added it to.
Huh.
I don't. That might not be exactly correct, but anyway, it's on there now too. So
Heck yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, that's it for episode 6. And as always, thanks for listening, and you'll hear us next time.
Take care.